Hello, my name is David Travis and this is the UX Tea Break. In this episode I look at the importance of being a reflective practitioner. So this question comes from Jahangir Mojar. Jahangir is a student in my Udemy class and he's asked, what should UX researchers be focusing on in 2020? And when I'm asked these questions, I know that people are kind of after a suggestion as to what field they should move into. For example, should I move into artificial intelligence? Or should I start specialising in virtual reality or something like that? Well, maybe you should. I don't know. I don't know what the future holds, and I can't predict that any better than anybody else can. But there's one thing which is constant, and that is that the best UX researchers that I have come across all have a common characteristic, and that is they reflect on what's gone in the past. And this being a new year, I think this is as good a time as any to think about doing exactly that. And the reason is because when you think about anything, whether it's being a good UX researcher or whether it's being a racing car driver, there's a couple of things that matter. One, which is where most people focus, is on the technical skills. Clearly, to be a good UX researcher, you need to know how to run a usability test. You need to know how to avoid bias. You need to know how to ask questions so as not to lead the witness and so on. And those kind of things can be taught in training classes. Obviously, you need those skills, and incidentally, there's a whole list of courses that I run in the comments below. By all means, sign up for one of those. But I would be the first person to say that that's not sufficient. It's not good enough to have those technical skills alone. You also need experience. But here's where people make the mistake. They feel the experience is about just going out and doing that thing. It's a bit like when people talk about practice makes perfect. Well, practice doesn't make perfect. Deliberate practice makes perfect, and the same goes for the skills in UX research too. When you do an activity and you have an experience, it's not good enough that you simply do the activity and have the experience. You need to reflect on it. And here's what I mean by reflection. Let's say that you've just completed a project. That's a good time to reflect on what went well with that project and what could be improved. If you've just spent a day running a usability test with 4 or 5 users, and some of those sessions went really well and some didn't, that's a good opportunity to reflect on what went well and what could have been improved. Now, this isn't something that you need to share with anyone other than yourself. Really, it's just for your own purposes, and it's a way for you to get better at what you've done. Once you've worked out what went well and what went poorly, you can build on those strengths and maybe avoid those weaknesses in the future. But the great thing about a research journal, and by the way, it doesn't have to be written down. You can do this in your head if you want. It doesn't have to be a paper journal. It could be an electronic tool. But the great thing about having that is that you can then look back over what you've done in the past and use that for other purposes. For example, it could become a portfolio entry, or it might be something you could use as a conference presentation, or it could be a blog post. But most importantly, it will be something which will show you how far you've come in your journey as a UX researcher. So my recommendation, Jahangir, for what you should be focusing on in 2020 is you should be focusing on being more of a reflective practitioner. I hope you found that useful. If you did, please subscribe to this channel, ask a question below, and I hope to get to it in a future video.